Mr. Goldman, the gentleman from New York, for his 5 minutes questioning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I find it really difficult to sit here listening to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle slander personally a cabinet secretary who has committed much of his life to this government and our public service. He was a U.S. attorney. He's worked multiple stints in the Department of Homeland Security. And you're certainly welcome to disagree with how he executes his job. You're welcome to criticize him. You're welcome to make the case to the American people as to why Secretary Mayorkas, in executing President Joe Biden's immigration policy, should be removed from office at the ballot box. But to come in here over and over and over again and to personally attack and slander without any evidence a cabinet secretary who has committed so much of his life to this country, who himself comes from a Cuban family escaping difficult circumstances in his country, who is an immigrant family himself. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's enough. You want to talk policy? Let's talk policy. I agree, we have problems at the border. Let's talk about how we can solve them. But instead of actually going over to the Senate, this committee, which has the committee of jurisdiction over border policy that is being negotiated right now by a bipartisan group in the Senate with Secretary Mayorkas, instead of actually engaging in those substantive negotiations to reach some sort of a bipartisan agreement to address the problems, we are sitting here with a charade of a sham impeachment hearing with expert impeachment witnesses who are Republican officials, political officials suing the Department of Homeland Security. Another hearing. It's the same hearing we've had 10, 12 times. Same pig, different lipstick, because we're now going to call it an impeachment hearing. So who do we have here? And I am sure all three of you are excellent attorneys general. But I have never heard your names mentioned in the category of Mr. Bowman, who is a legal expert on impeachment. And as far as I can tell, none of your states actually are on the border. So I don't understand why we are sitting here in a, quote, impeachment hearing with three attorneys general from different states who are Republican officials and have absolutely no expertise on impeachment. The reason is because the last time the Republicans did that and they brought in their so-called experts on impeachment for the first and only oversight public hearing, they were embarrassed because their own experts acknowledged that there is insufficient evidence to impeach President Biden. So who do we have here? We have attorneys general who are suing Secretary Mayorkas and the government to stop him from implementing his policy to address the issues at the border. That's right. So one rule that the department has implemented was the asylum processing rule, which would allow asylum officers rather than immigration courts to decide asylum applications for those placed in expedited removal to significantly expedite the process. That might reduce the backlog. That might create a disincentive to come. That's something that Secretary Mayorkas did to address the border. No, you sued him to stop him from doing that. How about the circumvention rule? Well, that is the circumvention, excuse me. How about the asylum circumvention rule, which says that you have to either appear at a port of entry or have first sought asylum from a neighboring country? That would reduce the people who could apply for asylum. No, you sued them. You sued them to stop them from doing that. And how about trying to address the parole decisions to allow some people to come in and be able to actually have work authorizations so that they are not just sitting on the dole? No, you sued them. So this is what we have. We have Republicans suing Secretary Mayorkas to stop him from implementing his policy to address the issues of the border, and now we're going to impeach him because you say he's not addressing the issues at the border. Which do you want? I yield back.